Okay, it's time for yet another Islay on the channel. Ardbeg Corryvreckan.
Named after the world's second largest whirlpool, the Ardbeg Corryvreckan comes in at a cask strength 57%, 114 proof, and is a single malt from Islay. This is a no age statement Scotch with a 45 ppm malt boasting deep peaty notes with a few surprises along the way.
Okay, so the first Ardbeg on the channel, I have actually had this before. The bottle is actually almost gone, as you could probably tell here. I just haven't never reviewed it before. So, this is the Corryvreckan. I do not know if I'm saying that right, but it's probably pretty close. Anyway, let's get to the color of this. That is a very nice amber color. It's non-chill filtered, and I think the legs are probably going to be a little slower than one we had last week. And yeah, there's some pretty slow legs. Going to get a nice little like velvety, maybe even like a chewy palate when we get to that. So give us a nose. Right off the bat, I'm getting a lot of brine, and in fact, it's not that smoky on the nose, so hopefully the wife isn't immediately turned off on this. This is going to sound incredibly weird, but I'm getting bacon. Nice, really nice salty bacon. That's awesome. And when you get like deeper into the glass, a little more of this peat smoke, and actually probably some pine needles. Wow, this is actually a very meaty nose. And I haven't eaten dinner yet, so maybe I'll go upstairs and eat dinner later. Oh yeah. So I'm going to say brine, bacon, pine needles, definitely some peat smoke. And probably right when you lift your nose away from the glass, there's just a very, very slight vanilla-ness there, but nothing too crazy. It's a very nice nose. Alright, let me give this thing a taste, huh? Way more smoke on the palate than the nose, and I swallowed that way too quickly, so it burned a little more. Now it is 57% alcohol, but it's only 45 ppms, but I will say it is definitely more smoky than even the last Octomore that was on the channel. Like I said, the number of the ppm is just whatever's on the malt. It's not on the whiskey itself. So just because the number might be lower doesn't mean the flavor profile is going to be less or more smoky depending on whatever that number is. So a lot of smoke on that. I'm getting more of the bacon on this. This is like a really like meaty whiskey. It's awesome. There we go. That has some little more lighter on it. Little piney, and maybe even like a dash of tobacco. Like, yeah, little this dash of tobacco. Nothing like too prominent. But I will tell you right now, the finish is starting to get really, really nice, and I cannot wait to talk about the finish later. Yeah, this is just a really dark palate. Not a dark whiskey, but it's just an amber color. Meat, definitely a lot of brine and some smoke, pine tobacco. And in fact, I'm getting a little bit of coffee. That's more on the finish to me than it is on the palate, but it's pretty soon, so I'm going to call it the palate. Really, really solid palate there. Alright, time for ratings. However, I am going to do a quick little like, I'm going to change something. So it's been really annoying doing this like math crap with the whole up and down things. Like my little like glass graphics are supposed to be like for a half or even a quarter. But when it goes like the 1, 2, 5 stuff, it's getting annoying, and I know some of you are probably like, oh, this is stupid. So what we're going to do is, I did the fingers because of the 5 or whatever because of the fingers. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, ha 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 ha. However, since there's 4 sections and each section can be at most 5, I'm just going to add everything. So you can, the best score you can get is 20. from here on out. I'm not going to do any more of this like dividing stuff. So I will retroactively go back on my credit screen. If you haven't seen that yet, at the end of my video, I do this rolling credits of my readings. I'll change all of those as I can. But we're going to start doing the 20 with this one. So that being said, for the nose, this was a really, really different nose than I've had even on the channel or even in general. Now, I've had this bottle for a while. I've just been waiting for the wheel to spin on it, and thankfully, lately, the wheel's been liking these Islas, so it came finally. It's a really, like I said, it's a very meaty, earthy, kind of sweet, not super smoky for the ppms at least, nose. So, just based on that alone, I'm going to give this a 4. Okay, so for the palate, I'm going to take another sip real quick before I make like a final judgment. Really excellent Islay, honestly. It's probably like the flavor profile of the palate is like what a standard you'd think you get out of an Islay. It's not incredibly peaty, it's just peaty enough. There's some really nice brine and maybe some seaweed in there. And this one specifically is like, it's so viscous, it's like chewy almost in your mouth. So it's just, that is what I at least think about when I think about Islays. So for this palate is really good. I'm going to give the palate here a 4.5. So for the finish, I think it's a very long-lasting finish. I think I've had what, like 3 to 5 sips so far, and it's really sitting there. Now I will say I'm not pulling a whole lot off of the finish, so it's not going to be an incredibly high score, but it is a long-lasting finish. I still get a little more of the dark, like earthy tones, and maybe some tiny bit of oak on the finish, but nothing spectacular or anything, but it does last a while. So for that, I'm going to give the finish a 3. It hasn't blown me away by any means. However, it is long lasting, so I think a 3 is pretty good. Alright, so for the value, I did buy this a long time ago, so I checked the price today, and where I get my whiskey, this is about $115. It's a little pricey, however, I like the presentation, I like the experience that I got with this whiskey. So I do think a 115 is a little high, so I'm going to give the value probably a 3.5. It's a very, very like, boom, here's an Islay, and this is exactly what you would expect from an Islay. So 115, not that high. I think 3.5 it's a fair score. Okay, so with the new 20-point total, it's got a 15. Very, very decent score. Very solid score, I think. Again, just a perfect representation of what you can get out of an Islay Scotch. Very, very, very good. So I think 15 out of 20 is good. Cheers. Okay, wife time. I'm sorry it's yet another smoky Islay. And I promise to you guys, it's not just going to be like, hey, whiskey, she hates it. Hey, whiskey, she hates it. So we're going to hope the wheel isn't rigged anymore. It hasn't been rigged, I promise. But anyway, I do want to say I had like a little bit of a whiskey party last night, and I was going through some whiskey notes with some people, and I was saying basically like, you cannot be wrong about what you pull out of a whiskey. Everybody's nose and mouth picks up different things different ways. So my notes might not be what you would get if you got a whiskey. Same thing with her. So that being said, give that thing a little bit of a nose and just tell me like this one note that you get, top of your head. Boom, let me think about it.
Salami.
Salami. Okay, very specific. I got a nice little salty bacon, but again, we pull stuff out differently. So, but I will say that, hey, I thought it was pretty meaty. Okay, so it is not as smoky as the Ardbeg I have upstairs. I'm going to say that now. So
Okay.
give this a sip, and I'm sorry ahead of time. Was that salami?
No.
Was it smoky? Okay, now,
No.
we know she hates it. Everybody knew that was going to happen. But compare it to the Octomores. Which one is worse? Looks like that one.
This one like burns my tongue.
Okay, it's 57% alcohol. Probably why. Although one of the Octomores was like 60, I think. So are they all equally bad, or
Yeah.
they're all equally bad?
Yes.
Okay, so apparently peaty Islays are all equally bad. However, I like it, and I think you might like it too. Speaking of liking things, if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more whiskey reviews every Wednesday, you can subscribe. Actually, it's probably like down there or something like that. I appreciate everybody that already is subscribed. I'm trying to get to 100 before the end of the year. I'm a little close, I don't know. Appreciate everybody that comments and shares and likes already. So cheers to you guys. All right, time for the whiskey wheel. And there is actually no more Islas on the wheel, so I think the wife will be happy about that. Let's see what we get. It's the wife choice again. He won't. You heard that, didn't you? See you next time.